couple of weeks ago, we did a feature answering the internet's most popular questions about gasoline and octane, and in this video, we're following that up by answering the internet's most popular questions about octane boosters. Modern gasoline engines are smarter and more efficient than ever, which is why choosing the right fuel for the job has probably never been so important. Of course, today's driver has no shortage of options when it comes to fuel grades and poor in-tank enhancers, octane boosters, and the like, but should you use them in your car? To find out, I gathered the internet's most popular search questions relating to octane boosters and asked Dr. Mark Jones and Dr. Bill Carroll to answer them. Dr. Jones is a chemistry consultant with industrial experience, and Dr. Carroll is an adjunct professor in the Department of Chemistry at Indiana University Bloomington, as well as an expert on octane additives. Question 1. How do octane boosters work? According to Dr. Carroll, octane boosters are like vitamins. He says they're at their best and most necessary when they're correcting a deficiency, but despite what some people think, massive doses of vitamins have not been shown to have a reliably massive positive effect, and octane boosters are similar. And while there are situations where an octane booster might be just the thing, he says adding octane booster to premium gas does not turn a sled into a rocket. According to Dr. Carroll, manufacturers spend a lot of time and money determining what runs best in their engines and encourages drivers to listen to them. He says a really good general rule is to read your manual. Question 2. Is ethanol an octane booster? According to Dr. Jones, the most commonly used octane booster is ethanol. He says that all of us use it since it's blended into the fuel by the manufacturers. According to Dr. Jones, ethanol was recognized in the 1920s as an effective octane enhancer. It just requires a lot, over 10% in gasoline. And as for the octane enhancers sold in little bottles, well, those are something else. Question 3. Are octane boosters corrosive? In the context of a vehicle's fuel system, Dr. Jones says that octane boosters are made to be compatible with fuel system components and are unlikely to cause corrosion in the fuel system if properly diluted and used correctly. But he says that products of combustion can be a different story. According to Dr. Jones, auto manufacturers claim that some octane boosters, even when used correctly, are not good for sensors, catalytic converters, and other components. The automakers say that fuel from the pump has all the octane needed. The manufacturers of octane boosters say that they're safe when directions are followed. Dr. Jones says that falling into the trap of assuming that more is always better and adding too much may create deposits that can be damaging to cylinders and exhaust system components. Question 4. Is ethanol corrosive? Apparently this is a touchy subject, but according to Dr. Jones, expert studies support ethanol being corrosive when blended due to picking up water. Modern cars are compatible with ethanol blends, he says. Gasoline containing ethanol as an octane booster is unlikely to damage a modern car. Still, there are many who swear by recreational gas, which is manufactured without ethanol, for use in small engines, boats, and more. According to Dr. Jones, they're convinced that ethanol is corrosive, or at least that it can lead to engine damage in some engines. The gist? Modern cars are compatible with ethanol blends, and your modern car is designed to run on them. Question 5. What are octane boosters made of? Well, turns out the stuff inside of these bottles is not octane, explains Dr. Jones. He says that these are blended mixtures of several things and that a range of materials can be present. They all serve to moderate the combustion, to eliminate pre-ignition. According to Dr. Jones, relatively high concentrations of ethanol can do that, but that requires a lot of ethanol, so the large amount needed relative to a tank of fuel means that the little bottles of octane booster are unlikely to be high in ethanol. According to Dr. Jones, octane boosters contain hydrocarbons that are harder to ignite than gasoline. In liquid octane boosters, hydrocarbons make up most of the mixture, and compounds more associated with kerosene or diesel and higher boiling point petroleum fractions are common. These compounds are harder to ignite and give less energy when burned. The goal of octane enhancers is to moderate combustion, not make it easier. Octane boosters sold in auto parts stores aren't just one thing. Many are mixtures with several components, and they should be used carefully. They likely aren't needed or beneficial for most cars, and if you're going to use them, follow the directions carefully. Question 6. Do octane boosters increase horsepower? According to Dr. Jones, higher octane fuel increases horsepower when used with equipment that's capable of reaping the benefits. Moving to higher performance, high compression engines requires the elimination of pre-ignition. This is exactly what octane enhancers do. So if you have an engine designed to run on a high-octane fuel, then yes, octane boosters can increase horsepower. Dr. Jones explains another way to answer this question, and that's to ask what happens when an engine operating on low-octane fuel experiences knocking. The poor combustion robs engine performance, reducing horsepower. Adding an octane additive will improve performance and add horsepower. Question 7. Should I put octane booster in my lawnmower? According to Dr. Jones, there should be no need because lawnmowers are lower compression than most cars and they should run just fine on as-purchased gasoline. Some folks choose to run recreational gasoline in small engines, that's ethanol-free, and avoids the tendency of ethanol to absorb water from the air, which can lead to corrosion. So this isn't an octane rating issue, and according to Dr. Jones, the mower should run equally well on fresh gas from the pump, whichever you choose. Question 8. Can you use too much octane booster and are there any side effects? According to Dr. Jones, the strange thing about octane additives is that they generally aren't as good a fuel as the starting gasoline. Most octane boosters list kerosene as a big component, but a gasoline engine will not run well on pure kerosene because kerosene doesn't ignite as easily as gasoline, although it does burn well once ignited. The same can be said of many of the other listed ingredients. Dr. Jones's main point? If you mix too much of these into the tank, you can negatively impact performance. He adds, if someone thinks incorrectly that the bottle purchased contains octane and that adding more will continually increase the octane level in the fuel, they would be inclined to exceed the optimum and may go to a point where they negatively impact the operation, both until the tank is empty and potentially with damage to engine components. These are the reasons to follow the directions. Too much octane isn't a problem, but too much octane enhancer can cause problems. Question 9. Can octane boosters damage an engine? According to Dr. Jones, octane boosters can cause damage, and one example would be operating an automobile engine using aviation fuel, which is higher in octane and contains lead. Leaded fuel will damage the catalytic converter and sensors, and it's also bad for the environment. There are other octane boosters that are not approved for road use. Some have metal-based additives called MMT. That's methyl cyclopentadienyl manganese tricarbonyl, by the way. And Dr. Jones says that metallic oxides resulting from the use of these compounds in octane boosters are implicated in health and environmental effects. So using a booster with MMT in it can easily exceed the levels where they are considered safe. Dr. Jones adds that engines are more likely damaged by knocking due to octane ratings of the fuel being too low than they are by higher octane. Thank you for watching. My name's Justin Pritchard for Driving.ca. Don't forget to hit that like button down below if you learned something new. And until next time, take care and drive safe.